What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Winner Beginner, where we teach you how to play PUBG. What do we have for them today, Trigger?
So we're going to be continuing the conversation on dropping, aka parachuting into the match, and specifically, we're going to be going over some advanced dropping techniques to help you get to where you want to go on the map as safely as possible.
Let's go.
So in the last video, we went through the basics of getting from the plane to the ground, including all of the keybinds that you need to do that. So now it's time to get into the different ways that you can drop or parachute into the map, and we're going to introduce a few new advanced key functions as well.
In this clip, we're going to show you a full drop. And what this means is hitting a spot that's roughly 1,000 meters from the plane path. Which, remember, 1,000 meters is about one large grid box on the main map. Also, on a side note, the mini map, which is in the lower right-hand corner of your map, those grid boxes are about 100 meters. When you're in the lobby of the game, you want to open up the map and draw a box around the plane path, which will illustrate about one large grid box of distance. And remember, the plane path is not always in the same place, so this is super helpful while you're getting used to this idea of picking a spot that you want to drop. On a quick note, we talk about the mechanics and how to use this tool in the first episode of Winner Beginner. So I would watch that episode again if you want a reference on how to use these tools inside of the main map. Our goal now is to show you an easy strategy for getting to the ground first, which will set you up for the best possible early game.
Exactly. So the main goal here is to land safely with a chance to loot. The key is giving yourself the best possible chance at getting to the ground safely, regardless of where you've chosen to go, so that you have a chance to get some guns or a gun and armor so that you can have a chance at surviving a gunfight, especially if somebody else dropped really close to you. What we're going to do now is jump into an example that we've got here of doing a full drop to the edge of the grid lines that we have drawn on the map already. So let's get into it. So you can see here that we've already drawn the parallel grid lines, which are roughly 1,000 meters parallel to the paint. They're roughly 1,000 meters parallel to the plane path. And we've both marked spots on the map. And now we're looking for that spot that's roughly 1,000 meters to 1,100 meters from the plane path to where we're going. And that's where we're going to drop as we get closer to that point. In review, one of the things we're going to do is orient ourselves towards that point that we're dropping to on the compass on the top. And as we're leaving the plane, we're holding the W key and we're continuing to hold the W key through the entire drop. Once we reach the 150 meter point from our drop spot, we're going to hit the shift key and we're going to go straight down. We're going to drop as fast as possible so we get the max velocity heading to the ground. So it's worth noting that some people will even use a piece of paper or something that's marked to signify the best way to drop to the ground. Now, this isn't always effective because, as you can see here, there's hills, there's trees, there's buildings, and it's not always easy to hit it perfect every single time. So we want to get within the same spot. A couple things to note there. We dropped in, we hit the top of that building. Sometimes you'll hit a building, you'll hit a tree, you'll hit a rock. You just never know. The goal is to get in the spot, moving into your loot location as quick as you can. Don't be worried if you don't hit it perfect. It is really hard to get a perfect drop every single time.
Yep, and now let's take a look at how you can parachute even further.
Perfect. So in this clip, we're going to be going over how to glide while parachuting. You can see from the map that we're targeting the yellow marker, which will end up being just under 2,000 meters away. which basically means you can't get anywhere near it if you use the full drop strategy that we talked about in the last clip. So when you exit the plane, you're going to be in a free fall shortly after that. And what you're going to see on the screen is an option pop up to pull your parachute, and its default is the F key. So as soon as the parachute is deployed after the free fall, which you're going to see us do that at roughly the half altitude point here, halfway through the drop. But you're basically going to have the option to hit the F key, and now you can hold the left control button, which is going to flatten out your drop, slow your descent, and by gliding, you're going to be able to increase the distance dramatically for how far you can fly.
Now, this is going to be a long drop, and while we watch, and the reason we want to watch the entire drop is to give you an understanding of how long you can actually be in the air with this strategy. And let's talk about why you'd want to do this. Now, I know for myself, I've used this method for getting to the edge of the map, or as far as I can. And as a newer player at that time, it was very helpful to kind of control the area where I was dropping so that I have a better chance to get loot and continue on to the first phase of the game. Kind of like start the game on my own terms, as much as that's possible in PUBG. I think it can be very useful to start this way. And Trigger, how have you used this strategy, and what are your thoughts on why, regardless of the time that you've been playing the game, you'd want to try this?
Yeah, so first of all, I use this all the time, and I use it for a number of reasons. You kind of hit it on the head. I think early on, and especially when I was a new player, I think it can be really helpful to buy that extra time to land, to move around, to get some loot. And as you're discovering what items go with other items, that extra time is just amazing. But I still do this pretty often, even after thousands of hours in game of PUBG. I do enjoy a quicker pace a lot of the time, but I still like to slow it down, and this gliding technique is what allows me to do that. And I think it's the perfect way to buy some extra time, or to just have a slower paced game after you went through a maybe a high action or intense game. Additionally, gliding can be used in a situation where you're dropping into a location, you're trying to be the first down, and then you notice that there's either a bunch of people dropping there, or somebody just happens to be in front of you. Like on the video right now, if I was an enemy in the front there, the person in the back here, if that was me, I may want to glide to another location. So you can use this glide function at any point to go somewhere else that's hopefully a little bit safer, even if it's just on the other side of a town.
All right, we made it to the ground safely. We got far away from everything, which was our goal. Now let's go over our final strategy, which is how to hit a point that's close to the plane's path, but still roughly about 1,000 meters traveled.
For the final clip, we've selected a place to drop, signified by the yellow marker, that is near the plane's flight path, but will be at 1,000 meters during the actual flight. Notably, it is well within the orange borders that we use the markers to put on the map. The key with this drop is identifying the point on the flight path that your drop spot will be roughly 1,000 to 1,100 meters away. You can see in the video we use the orange marker to signal the spot to exit the plane.
When I'm playing solo, I typically just like to find a landmark on the map and drop. Where the plane flies over that landmark, I can leave a marker for my drop location. This helps kind of orient myself and to make sure that I get to where I want to go.
Exactly. So everything else at this point is the same as the full drop. We're going to orient ourselves towards the point on the compass, hold the W key as you exit the plane, and as we hit the 150 meter mark from the target, we hold shift for the quick descent.
And as you watch us get down to the end of this drop, you see this was a much quicker descent, much quicker drop than our previous 3 drops, and we're ready to go. Well, there you go. 3 strategies for getting to the ground safely so, you can play the game.
Here we
Let's go.
So, whether you want to drop and get straight into the action, or you want to slow down the pace a little bit, or frankly, anything in between those two options, you should be able to do that now.
The truth is, there are many different strategies for dropping into a PUBG game, mostly depending upon the way you want to play. Some people want to drop in hot, some people want to drop in far away, loot up, and work their way in. There's no right or wrong answer. We covered the basics and then some more advanced strategies in this series to get you started and past the point of worrying about getting to the ground safely, which is really the first step in playing a PUBG game. So look for the next episode, which is going to feature a long form conversation podcast around all things drops. Hopefully after that, and watching our beginner guide, our more advanced guide, and listening to the podcast, you won't have any fear about dropping into PUBG. Look forward to seeing you in game.